Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Forgotten Generation podcast with your host Troy. I'm here today with a very special guest, an amazing youth activist and incredible change maker called Arthur. Hello, Arthur.
Hi, great to be here.
Oh, lovely to see you. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm Arthur. I'm 16. I'm from Cardiff in Wales. I'm an I Will ambassador, and I do quite a lot of things generally related to children's rights and youth participation.
That is absolutely incredible. And so, actually, what is your youth social action then? As what are you passionate about?
So, primarily, I do focus on sort of raising awareness of children's rights, the way we think about children's rights within a Welsh context, a UK context, and then thinking about like the international world as well. So, I've been involved in quite a few projects with the Children's Commission of Wales. Recently started a new role with an organisation called Children in Wales. I wrote a book with them last year called Pause, Play, Fast Forward: The Journey of Children in Wales. Very long name, but that was essentially just to try and raise awareness about the UNCRC, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, to make sure that young people actually know what rights they have and then hopefully are empowered to try and claim them and to support others to do the same as well. Some other things that I'm involved with, so I'm a young advisor for the Diana Award, so helping them to embed youth participation and sort of the right to be heard within all of their practices. So from sort of on the ground work to then more at the strategic levels as well. Just started doing the same with the National Youth Agency as well. But yeah, just make a lot of resources, do a lot of presentations, and try and get everybody to remember Article 12, primarily right to be heard and listened to, as well as sort of the overall message of like the UNCRC.
Wow, wow, wow. Like you just said so many incredible things. I'm just
Thanks.
like so shocked right now, honestly. You're just incredible, I got to say. And so you actually
Thank
said
you.
about this book. So actually tell me more about this book. I'm very fascinated to know. What's it about?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So it was essentially a project that it went on for about a year. So it was to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Children in Wales, who are essentially like a membership organization who bring together different charities, different like people who care about children's rights and families and things in Wales to try and like campaign for change with like one voice. So it's all that idea of sort of hopefully if a lot of different people, experts in the sector and young people themselves champion something, then that will sort of then if they do it together, then hopefully the government will sort of listen and then take that on board. But essentially we wanted to like reflect on the last 30 years, think what do we want the next 30 to look like as well. So I sort of worked with one of the then directors at the time and thought, well, it'd be really cool to write a book, something interactive maybe that young people can do activities and stuff and hopefully get some diagrams and illustrations and things in there as well. So I sort of just ran with the idea and tried to get funding, which we got, which was really great. So yeah, I sort of was the primary author, so doing like the writing of the book, and then we had interviews with 10 key stakeholders that I had some young people join me for that as well. That was really fun. And it was all like my heroes as well, which was really great. And then all the young people, we had like a committee who would really scrutinize every word that I wrote, which was helpful, mostly. But yeah, and then we had a big launch event in March at the Senedd, to the Welsh Parliament building. Um, but yeah, it was kind of like, it was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, but I think it had quite a lot of reward as well.
I'm just so shocked. Like, it's actually incredible how you actually did that project in a book. And it's
Yeah.
such a great achievement. So well done on that. It's so inspiring, I
Thank
got
you
to
very
say.
much. Thanks.
Because I want to do a book one day. It'd be great to do that. But anyway, but are you part of any more organisations as you touch on about the Diana Award and
Hmm.
the I Will movements? Is there any more?
Yeah, I'm thinking I should check my LinkedIn now because I'm guaranteed to remember some. So the one that's probably that I was involved with for 2 years, my term is coming to an end now, was the UNICEF UK Youth Advisory Board, and that was a really fun opportunity because obviously they are like their mandate is children's rights, so that was like so perfect. And then as well, Cardiff actually, this is quite a cool thing. I take no credit for this, but recently, Cardiff became the UK's first child-friendly city, UNICEF accredited. So we had a big celebration for that, and I've been a member of their like executive board for the last like 4 or 5 years or so. So that was really great for like the youth council members in the city to sort of celebrate the progress that we made across like the 6 key areas, I think. So that was really exciting, and I do quite a lot with them in terms of like trying to essentially try and gather young people's views across the city. So my role is looking at the ways we can improve the youth council in order to be sort of a better and a more consistent voice for young people. So that's quite a lot of what I do really. Yeah, last year as well, I was involved in the Children's General Assembly in Billund in Denmark, so that was really
Ooh,
fun. Got to go to Legoland, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
well
Um,
jealous.
yeah, it was fun actually. It was really good. The roller coasters, I never really been on any before, so that was an experience. But yeah, that was quite a fun one because we got to meet other young people from like all over the world, and we were brought I think something like 60 different countries in one room, which was just fantastic. So yeah, definitely shout out that organization as well.
Wow, again, so sweet. So she's just incredible. Like, and well done about this Lego
Thanks.
land. Like, I really
Yeah.
want to go there. Not fair, but you went, but anyway. Um, as what other issues that you think actually young people are facing at the moment? Because also about politics. What do you think
Mhm.
needs to happen in politics in order for young people to be listened to and be understood better?
Yeah. So as far as like the issues that I keep hearing consistently from young people, I think one of the top ones is definitely cost of living and the poverty levels at the moment. Like last year, I went to the Child Poverty Summit for Wales, which was really sort of interesting to hear the different perspectives from that from young people themselves, their personal experiences, and then also to hear it from sort of like a government and policy lens as to what are some of maybe like the root causes that they're examining, and then what are the actual strategies and action plans that they're trying to put in place. And I think when we were involved in research around that, something that really stuck out was the ripple effects between like cost of living and mental health and crime and bullying and education and like attainment and all of those different things. Because obviously, if you're struggling to be able to afford the basic necessities that you need, that's going to have impacts on your mental health and how you're able to concentrate in school. So that was definitely really interesting when me and some of the young people were researching that. We sort of thought of it as a bit like a nexus of all these issues that are sort of one is leading to another one being sort of created or continuing. But yeah, I think that was something that definitely came to mind. And I think I would hope that's something that's definitely in the mind of government at the moment. I know, particularly in Wales, because that's where most of my engagement sort of happens. When I've had the opportunity to meet with ministers and cabinet secretaries and things, to be able to share what a huge issue young people feel that these are and the different sorts of interdisciplinary ways that they want government officials to try and think about it where possible. Because especially like from a children's rights lens, we often sort of think about how they're interdependent and all work together. And I think if the problems are also like that, one causing the other one to get worse and having these ripple effects, then I think maybe the solutions are going to be similar as well, or something that maybe is multifaceted in that way. Also, as well, going back to the Diana Awards, as far as listening to young people from a political sort of environment, I had the opportunity to be a peer researcher on their Youth Voice in Politics report. So I particularly focused on the experiences in Wales and how engaging with Welsh, like Senedd members, we call them. So, and then UK MPs, basically. And we really found there was quite a difference in the way that young people felt they were being engaged with, maybe because of the voting age in Wales being 16 compared to in the UK government elections. Hopefully, that's something I'm sure a lot of young people in Wales would like to see carried through. They were quite. I know a lot of my friends were quite disappointed we didn't get to vote in the general election a few months ago. But yeah, so I definitely think like tokenism was something that came up loads in that report about young people wanting to actually have influence. It's all well and good being in a room with a minister or somebody who can make change, and then them not actually taking that forward or actively listening to what the young people have to say, asking young people questions, giving them the opportunity to sort of shape the ways that they can have their voices heard, because every young person wants to sort of share that and convey themselves in a different way. So I think having that open and transparent dialogue is really important. But I would sort of say any politicians, go and check out that report, because it gives some really strong recommendations about what they can do to actually not just hear young people, but actually make sure they're actively listening to them as well.
Absolutely, so important, and very much to the and politicians and organisations listening to this episode to
Yeah.
really understand actually what we're saying about the dinner wall. It's so important that actually young people are getting their voices heard and very much having a voice in that, which is so important. And so you touched on about actually professionals taking action, but what would you actually want for professionals to do better? So what would be your advice to them to make young people's voices heard a bit more?
Yeah, so I'm going to show my participation nerdiness a bit, but I think like thinking about the different, because there's been so much research that's gone into learning about the ways that young people can have their voices heard, that it both empowers them and they get something out of it, and then actually the people who are listening to the views also get something from that experience as well. So I definitely say that the Lundy model all the way for that one. So creating a space where young people feel comfortable, they feel safe, making sure that where possible they actually can help to share what they think will help make that space one where they feel productive and they feel able to share, then actually giving them that voice, that opportunity to speak and convey what they want to sort of, what their opinions are or their experiences, then having the audience, so connecting them with the right people, people who have the appropriate training, who have the appropriate knowledge, and where possible have the decision making power then to actually be able to go and do something. And finally, and probably the most important one for me, is probably the influence element. So actually thinking 20 young people have told us that this issue is really important to them. Based on this, well, this isn't what I thought originally, so I'm going to slightly consider this and think, well, maybe I need to go and do more research on this area, or maybe I need to change up the decision that I was going to make because of what I've learned through talking to young people and potential service users from something they might implement. So I think trying to keep that at their core, those sort of different elements, and really like bringing it back to what makes an experience a positive one for young people when they're sharing their views as well. As far as other participation models, obviously there's like Heart's Ladder, for example, which is another one I think, which is really great to allow us to sort of think about the different ways that young people can share their views, and maybe the pros and the cons to each of them, what we need to avoid as well in a lot of settings. If something slips into tokenism, for example, how to avoid that and maybe hold yourself accountable to say, well, maybe this isn't something that's working, or maybe we're not getting exactly what we wanted from this, or the young people aren't enjoying it. And then sort of think, set ambitious targets to do like co-production exercises or share some power with young people and be willing to relinquish some of that power maybe that people have in like a adult or professional sense, and be able to actually give that back to young people where they can as well. Feedback is another thing I think is so important within like participation and young people sharing their views. They want to know what's happened based on what they've said, and that to be communicated in like a timely manner in a way that they can actually like understand as well, and they get the whole picture of the project, and having some consistent engagement, I think, where possible as well. And yeah, I think just professionals really remembering why they're engaging with young people and having sort of the understanding of the value of their voices at that core, and then really just being fueled by that passion, hopefully, that they'll develop through speaking to more young people and through learning more about participation really as a whole.
Absolutely. Listen to Arthur and what he said. Like, honestly, it's so important that actually young people are being listened to and professionals take to account what young people are talking about and the issues as they have their lived experiences. So it's so important to really understand that it's our lived experiences and we should have that voice and very much needs to be actioned. And so what were the barriers that you face as a young person doing this?
Yeah, I think like over the years, there's definitely been quite a few times where it's definitely been challenging. I think for me personally, like one that has kept coming up is facing people who maybe aren't as interested in this or haven't experienced it before and don't see sort of where I'm coming from, or maybe, especially when I do more research and academic based activities, maybe not seeing how my experiences or a young person's experiences might bring something different to somebody who's gone and been in research or been in academia for a decade and got all of these fancy qualifications. I think acknowledging that there are different experiences that maybe would be brought through that, and being open to sort of actively learning something about what they do from young people. And I sort of recognize that can be challenging when you've, dedicated the last how many years to something and you feel you're an expert in it. But I think just, yeah, making sure people are sort of open to that idea of letting a young person into their space, especially when you're talking about things that are relevant to young people as well. I think like for me as well, sort of making sure that activism and advocacy doesn't like take over my life is definitely something. Like I've been really lucky that I've met loads of great people, made loads of friends and networks and things through doing like youth social action. But I definitely think you've got to leave time to do things you enjoy. And I definitely enjoy talking about children's rights, but there are other things I like too. And I think like at times it kind of becomes my whole personality, but I promise I also watch The Simpsons like religiously.
Yeah.
Um, so another one that I think is just maybe a bit specific because I've taken very strange routes in like education and things, and it definitely was clear to me that a lot of like the traditional paths don't really think about young people doing all of these extracurriculars and having to travel places and do these extra pieces of work. So I've definitely had to try and forge a path that allowed me to learn and also do what I wanted to do in these different areas, which has been great, but it's definitely come with its challenges at times. Like, I did a different path of education, and like all of my friends picking up their GCSE results last week, I was both, yay, I didn't have to do exams, and I'm kind of jealous, like that, not having like free meals at Nando's or wherever, for example. So yeah, I definitely think it brings so many benefits being involved in this type of work, but also you've got to remember that your identity and your personality doesn't just have to be this one thing, and that's something that I've definitely struggled with in the past, just not being just the children's rights guy constantly, but having a few other things that I like to.
Wow, it's just so actually empowering that he's actually said that, because actually to actually watch The Simpsons, like I think for
Yeah,
yourself, it's so
yeah,
important to like relax and put your feet up and actually watch telly, watch movies, spend time with family, spend time
yeah.
with friends. And I think it's so, because I think we're so like wanting to make a difference all the time, but we also just need to
Hmm.
like pause a bit and be like, let's
Yeah,
rest, let's chill out and do other things as well as making a difference is so important, but also like take other time to do other things that we might be interested about.
yeah,
Yeah, because I'll definitely watch Simpsons very much now because I'm kind of actually like kind of actually like in a way like unstopped. I might watch it again.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I
Mm.
recommend. Like,
Good idea. As what would be your advice to a young person wanting to take part in youth social action, but doesn't know how to?
yeah, so I would say it's really great if anybody even has the slightest interest in anything that, even could remotely be related to youth social action, because, obviously it can take place at various different levels and doesn't have to be huge actions. Any sort of small thing that makes a difference and helps you to feel empowered and get your voice heard is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, keep feeling like you want to do that. I would say for me, just doing some like research online really helped when I got started, trying to find opportunities, things to apply for as well. Um, and then, I definitely had to face a lot of rejections with applying for things over the years, and that sort of happens, and that's how you learn from it. And often I've thought, I've looked back and I thought, oh, I'm really glad I didn't get into something because now another opportunity has presented itself, or I just was really tired one weekend and wouldn't have wanted to go anyway. So I think like with that, you've got to kind of have the mindset of everything happens for a reason, and it's just gonna, be another sort of step on your path to wherever you're gonna end up, and that's gonna be great. I think on the topic of like applications and things, especially for a first experience, if you maybe haven't um, done anything that you think is youth social action before, maybe really take it back to its core and think, well, have I ever voiced an opinion about something and something's happened? Or have I ever shared an idea and maybe it hasn't gone through, but you've received feedback as to why? And what would you have liked to have changed in that situation? Or maybe try and like take a step back and critically think about, well, what went well, what didn't. And yeah, you can sort of put anything into a youth social action context, and just try and convey that passion that you have for the subject. And you don't need to have done it for years and years and have all of this background reading. It's all about you sharing your voice and your experiences and opinions, and you're the expert in you. So just sort of go for it. Yeah, really. I think as well, like on the social front, like I think naturally I'm quite like a shy person in some ways, like definitely in like smaller like social groups and stuff. But you really do find that you kind of bond over these topics and these shared interests and things that you care about. So I think, yeah, as long as there's something that you believe in, you're sort of gonna meet your people and be able to unite over that one thing. Also, like, I just a lot of people don't really know what they're doing. I'm totally faking it till I make it in some ways. And yeah, and like having fun whilst I do it as well. And definitely like there are things that I've got like three children's rights books next to me. But like, if you ask me about like so many different topics, I am not gonna have a clue. But maybe I have an experience in that area that I'm happy to share, and I'm sure it's the same for other people as well. Um, yeah, so just sort of like if you care about it, go for it, and I'm sure you'll feel that pride after that you've done that, to know you've taken that step and maybe you've contributed to making a change or making a difference within something that you really care about.
So empowering, your message. Also, I think to anyone listening to this, a young person who wants to take part in your social action, this is the message to hear. Like, it's gonna be challenges along the way, but you will get through it. Like, it's a journey, like we say, it's like a journey, and that you can make a difference. It can be very much now really to just make a difference. Like in whatever capacity, a community or a participation group, a youth club, and there's ways of having your voice heard. And so what would be your quote to sum up your journey in a way?
This is probably very overdone, but the quote that I always use is Article 12 all the way. And there's a bit of a story behind that, which is like when I went to the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child to present on like the UK, but like the Welsh specific report. I was basically like, I don't know what I'm saying. I need to say something to finish what I'm on about. So I was like, Article 12 all the way. And it kind of stuck. And now I have it on a hoodie and on my bedroom wall. So I'm a bit obsessed. But I think apart from Article 12 all the way, maybe just like your voice is powerful and it's valuable, no matter the experiences that you've had or the ideas that you sort of generate. It's valuable because it's your experience and you're an expert in you, like I said, and you have the right to convey that and share that with the people who can actually make a difference. But in the society that we have, you sort of have to take that first step in order to try and make that a reality. But once you've done that, there are people here to support you and to help amplify that and to make sure that the right people hear it. So yeah, just remember that you have rights, you have the right to be heard. So try and take control and claim that and support those around you to do the same.
So moving. Honestly, you're just incredible. You're an amazing change maker, you're activist, and I just really honestly hope that you are listening today really felt passionate and really felt motivated to start your youth social action journey, wherever you are. And I really hope the professionals and organisations can, listen to this to really understand a young person's point of view and why they should listen to our voices. So thank you so much, Alpha, for coming on to today's episode.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been really fun.
Please support the podcast by subscribing and rating the podcast. I'd love to hear what you like and what could be better for future episodes. If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram and I will .troy, and also on X I will _Troy. Tune in to next week's episode.